All right, now we got a couple of you on board. Good morning and welcome aboard. I'm Bruce. I'll be doing the camera work and the inane commentary, and we're glad to have you here with us at the Art of Fire. Good morning, Barbara from Dortmund, Germany. Okay, so today the theme is anticipation because we're certainly hoping that we're going to be back at the Maryland Renaissance Fair this fall, starting in late August and running into October. So to take care of everybody's wishes for the fair, we got to start making product and get the shelves stocked so we have things for you when you come see us at the Ren Fair, or if you just want to order something online. Good morning from the left coast there, Kathleen. Welcome aboard. So what we're on to today is several of the pieces that you'll see at the fair. We'll give a quick rundown on that, and then I'll show you some of the ones we've got on display. We're going to have a flask, a pumpkin, a dragon, oh boy, planter, a fish, and a mug. So these are things. Good morning, Robin and Susan. Okay, welcome aboard, everybody. And special thanks to Susan for filling in last week. Really appreciate that. She did an excellent job with the camera, and she knows how tough it is to walk and talk. Like, it presents a special challenge to me. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing today. And if you've visited the Ren Fair site, well, here we are with like a miniature display. So we don't have the gazebo and everything with thousands and thousands of pieces hanging up. But this is the type of things that we have out there. We've got lots of ornaments. We've got flasks. We've got dragons, mugs. We've got jellyfish, regular fish, hanging planters. Oh, my goodness. And rondelles. We can do decanters, special vases and bowls, pitchers, glasses of all types, marbles. What you see here is what we get there. So we're going to be working on some of that today. And I'd like to mention that our winner of last week's prize, this beautiful flask here, is Jim Yearden. And those of you that comment will be entered in the drawing for next week, and we'll award this flask right here. So, good morning, Patrick and Tracy. Good to be here with you. And we've got some marbles on display here. So let's get started here with, so excited to see. Yep, we're looking forward to filling that gazebo up with more glass than you can imagine. Yes, I did miss all of you last week. I really did. Okay, so let's get a flask. So Todd's here working hard on his cats and stuff, and he'll be doing more of that. And I'm guessing that Josh is going to be doing our flask. And what colors are we going to have?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay. Oh, is it a mystery color?
It's from our mystery bin.
Okay.
So it's always fun.
All right. Forget door number 1 and door number 2, Monty Hall. We just pick a mystery color and go with it. Okay. So the color has been preheated on the end of the iron.
And you can see all these colors look like they're black, so we have no idea what color they are until they fall out.
All righty. Well, hey, it'll be a surprise for all of us. Okay, so Joshua will melt that in. He's got that in the glory hole now. It's running about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. And what that'll do is melt that colored glass into just a little orange amorphous blob. And then he'll shape it up, cool a little bit, and put some air in it. Good morning, Sharon. More glass than you can shake a blowpipe at. Yeah, that's a good one. Yep, we like the mystery glass. Okay, so once he gets that heated up to where it's can be rolled around on the marver and shaped, he'll bring it over to this metal table, which we call a marver, and there he'll do some shaping. By rolling it on the marver at that angle, he creates a conical shape, and that also cools the outside of it. By tapping the end, he makes sure that that doesn't stay too hot, and then what he'll do is trap air in the blowpipe. He'll blow, put his finger over the end of the pipe, and you'll see that the air makes that piece of color expand. Now, we can't really see the bubble, but when we see the growth in the piece of glass, we know something's happening, and that something is air. Does humidity have an effect on how you all work? Yes, it does, because we get tired very, very fast when it's humid. The humidity doesn't have much effect on the glass or but your perception of the heat standing in here, yeah, it's quite a bit of difference. So Josh has taken the first gather of clear glass, and he's going to use a cherry wood block to shape it. You can see a little bit of steam rising from it. The cherry wood is shaped while the wood is green. The tools are kept in water all the time. They don't stand a chance of cracking. And
Can you see that on camera, Bruce?
no, we can't quite pick up. He's got a little bit of a bubble in it that got trapped from the glass. So sometimes
there was actually a line in it when I markered it.
It
created a line. And I thought,
you've got the line.
And they're actually trapped a little bubble in the line. I don't know if they can see it or not.
Yeah, it's a little bit bright, so it didn't show up. Now he'll trap the air in the blowpipe again, and that central core, that color, will expand even more. And that's from the air pressure in it.
You know, the second size diamond.
Yes. Okay, a little more marvering there, and then he'll be taking another gather.
Well, I figured since we already have the bubble.
What's that?
Figured since we already have the bubble, we might as well make some more.
Make more? Make more bubbles?
Make more bubbles.
Okay, so he's got the what we call the diamond mold or the pineapple mold. Looks a little bit like shark's teeth, or for those of us that are fans of Dune, the worm. Okay, a little bit of spice here. And what he's going to do now is blow real hard in that. Then he sucks in on it and twists it. Okay, all those little indentations on the next gather will trap air. The glass will cover this assembly completely, and it will not flow into those indentations and eradicate them. It will trap air. So when it comes back out, it'll have bubbles in it. And as he said, this is a on-the-spot change to take advantage of the fact that there was already a bubble in the glass. Whoop, sorry, Foster. Okay, so he'll take another gather on that, and as soon as he comes out, we'll get a quick look when we can, and we should see bubbles forming. Now, a lot of times it's a little bit bright from the incandescent, so it might be hard to see, but we'll be able to show them to you here in just a second. There, with the dark background of the color core, you can see the bubbles in the glass, and they're going to remain there. So now what he'll do is use his block again. Okay, he's going to peel a little glass off. So glass is kind of a subtractive art. You can gather more than you want and take some away, but it's really difficult to take just a little dab and add back to it. So you take a little more than you want, or just get the exact right amount.
I think the color's blue.
Thinks it's blue. Okay, we'll find out how good he is at judging hot colors. Actually, he is pretty good at it, so he should be able to tell right now. But he's going to heat this all up. The reason for the reheat right now is to equalize the temperature throughout the piece. Were he to have blown when he was back at the bench, he would have had unequal heat in the glass, and it might not have expanded uniformly. He'll chill the outside with the block again, and now he'll blow it out some. Traps the air, there goes the expansion. He's using the jacks to create both the neck and a point of separation. Notice how he's pulled the ball of glass 1.5 inches or so away from the blowpipe. That's so there'll be a little bit of a throat or neck on this flask. Now he'll heat it up again and bring it back to blow it out to the final. It's purple. Okay. Well, purple's close to blue. We won't hold it against you. Okay, so now he'll blow gently, get it inflating, a little more air, and he'll create this sphere, which he and Foster will then flatten. By using the back of the jacks on the bottom of that sphere, he cools that, and he's cooling it with the newspaper. That takes the heat out of that area so that it doesn't wind up getting too thin. Foster's got a couple of paddles over here. They're going to lay the ball on the paddle and then press, and then they'll flip it, and they'll do this a few times until they get just the thickness they want. So there's the flattened flask. Say that time 6 times really fast. Okay, so now what he's doing is just getting this all centered up and letting it chill some. He's going to take a final flash, and then Foster will form the punty, and they'll transfer it to a putty iron. The punty's just a bridge. A lot of people say that it's the derivative of the French word pontel, which indicates bridge, but this allows us to hook the piece to another iron and intentionally break it at the neckline. So let that stabilize a few moments, turning it back and forth just to keep it centered. A little water in the neckline, and then a tap of the pipe, and it breaks free. And there you go. All right, so after the transfer, Josh will come on over, take it back from Foster, and he'll open that up. Now we've got some really special high-tech tools here. We've got a cork with a drywall screw in it. And this is so we can set the size opening of the flask. So it floats in the bucket over here, and Josh will open up the flask, and then once he gets that to where the cork fits just right in it, he'll go about putting the hooks on it so that we'll be able to hang it from a window.
If the drywall screws are any more as invaluable as
Yeah.
particle board, that's probably a bit of money there.
All right, so he's using the blades of the jack to enlarge and slightly taper the opening. He'll check the fit.
Gotta find just the right one.
You got one. God, it was the one with the long screw. Keep his fingers a little further away.
Looks good. So you can
Yeah.
see just up to where the
Right to
line
where
is.
the burn spot was. There you go. All right. So now Josh will be flashing the piece to keep it above 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's so it doesn't crack. But he won't be putting so much heat into it that it deforms the piece. He's got the body shaped as all together just exactly like he wants. Foster will take a roll on the marver, create a bit of a cylinder, and Josh will place it onto the flask, draw it up, and cut it. After he cuts it, he just turns it some, that elongates it and also controls it. And then by using his tweezers, he can gently put a gracious curl into it. Now, Josh, if we were making a larger flask, would you be doing 16-ounce curls? Yeah, okay. All right, so here's what's interesting. Watch how Josh turns the pipe even after he picks up or grabs the iron from Foster. He watches where the other hook is, then he turns the pipe to the other side, and this ensures that he gets them placed opposite one another. Flips it free, the spinning, the centrifugal force elongates it a little, and then he can use the tweezers just to curl it around and round it out. So there is a pretty little purple bubbled flask, and you might just see that hanging in Crownsville in a few months. And we'll be making a whole bunch more of them, just not today. Today's to show you how they're made, and of course during the demonstrations that take place during the Renaissance Fair, we'll quite often make all the various pieces. So you're likely to see that again. Foster's got the insulated gloves. He'll cool the punty sight so it taps off, and it actually breaks off. He wants a connection on that punty that's very light, a soft touch, because we don't want it sticking to the bottom of the flask and pulling the bottom out. Beautiful job. Way to go. Okay. So keep the comments coming, and that's how you get entered in the drawing. And if you'll share, that increases our viewership, which is always a great thing. And of course, we want you to like us because we've got that Sally Fields complex. All right, let's go ahead on back down here and see what else is going on. Okay. Don't forget, we got t-shirts. Oh man, do we have t-shirts. We have t-shirts and we have gift certificates. That way, Patrick and Ramiro don't have to remind me to bring it up each week. So this t-shirt right here is really pretty cool. Todd's daughter Violet designed that one. This one didn't take much imagination. We did that here with the staff of the Art of Fire, but Violet's is really pretty cool looking. So don't forget, we've got a lot of pieces here. We'll have a lot of things on display. If you want to see the full gamut of product, go to artoffire.com. Our online catalog's got everything there. You can order from it, or you can just gaze upon it and be amazed at the work these guys do. So how's our sound, folks? How about a little bit of feedback? Because we've got a different phone we're working with here today. The picture seems stable to us, but that's not always a good indication. So the next thing we're going to be going to is a pumpkin. So just let us know how we're sounding here. And Jim Yearden, if you're with us, I didn't see all the comments, but this flask right here is going to Jim and Matthew and Jen. So much better. All right, Sally Fields. Okay, sounds great, and no cutouts. Oh boy, that is so nice to hear. Okay, thank you, Antoinette. Can hear you very well. Good, guys. All right, this flask right here is our giveaway for next week. And don't forget, we got lots of other glass here that we have made and many more pieces that we can. So next we're going to be coming into the pumpkin. These are really, really popular in the fall. And, you know, we also have pumpkin mugs. We've made pumpkin vases. And we make the pumpkins at a lot of different sizes. Like this is our standard size here. We go to a large, and we go to a extra large, and we go to a Mongo, which Josh and I have a lot of fun making. And that thing is about, what is that, Josh, about 12 to 13 inches in diameter?
It's like a basketball, right?
Yeah, it's like blowing up a basketball. So anyway, we'll go on down and get started on some of the smaller pumpkins, and we've already made a bunch of them. In fact, another thing I'd like to bring up with you right now, before Josh gets started, is we're taking baby steps to get back into the business of having folks in the studio. And today, those of you who have been watching before and commented have known that Barbara Belzer is a frequent viewer and a commenter and has a really wicked sense of humor. And Barbara's been vaccinated, and she's here today, and she's just kind of hanging out and watching what goes on. Having a good time, Barbara?
I'm having a wonderful time.
Oh, great. Well, it's so good to have you here. Okay, so...
She needs her phone out so she can comment.
yeah, you can watch, yeah. Oh, you can see how much of a delay there is when me talking to you, and if it comes right back up. Everybody's saying hi, Barbara. So anyway, the point in this is not to put her on the spot, but to let you know that we will be in the process of working out, bringing people in. A lot of folks have inquired about classes or perhaps coming in to make their own vessel and that sort of thing, or maybe even like Barbara's doing today, just coming in and hanging out for a little while. So as long as we've got people that are vaccinated or wearing masks and you get in touch with the studio, we can arrange to start working on getting some of you back in here. But you'll have to be talking to this guy and... No, not the other guy. The real boss. Okay? So this is where we're going to go for the real deal, okay? They might have said on The Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We don't dare do that with the lady behind the computer. All right, so let's get into a pumpkin. Josh will take his first gather of clear glass. Now on the last piece, the flask, you saw that he picked up color on the end of the blowpipe. It was a small chunk, and it came out of the annealer. What he'll do this time around is use frit, or granular glass, and he'll pick that up on a hot gather of glass. There's no air in this yet. He's gathered just the amount of glass he wants. If he gets a little bit too much, he can always peel it off, but he doesn't need to in this case. So what he'll do is he'll run through the yellow frit twice, and by tapping the hot clear glass in the yellow frit, it sticks to it. That frit did not need to be preheated like the chunk of solid glass did. There's not much mass to it, and it sticks right to the hot clear glass. So he'll come back for another pickup. Go back for another melt. This just gets the frit integrated into the surface of the glass, and then he'll be coming back and putting the red on top of it. So we found that for our pumpkins, this combination of an opaque yellow and the cherry red color just makes a really nice pumpkin.
Yeah, just gives it a little more depth instead of just being a solid color.
Okay. So now he'll marver that down into more of a cylinder, and now he'll initiate the blow. So he's going to blow into the pipe, cover the hole with his finger, and we'll see the glass start to bulge. There it goes. Now what he'll do is lengthen it by swinging and then roll it on the marver. Now he has to get this down to a narrower diameter so it will fit in the optic mold.
It's going to be tight.
It's going to be tight. He's got a little bit of glass there. Well, one way around that is he can get this glass so hot that it practically drips into the mold. And then if it's a little larger in the diameter, it'll be able to fall right down in. So we'll watch that in a moment here as he goes into the optic or dip mold. It'll be the larger of those two silver ones. So by pointing it downward, see how it flows, then he pushes the glass down and he blows really hard. And when he comes out, we'll see the ridges, which form the ridges of his pumpkin. So, now just a little bit of air creates a bit of a bulge in the middle. What size pumpkin is this? This is the regular size pumpkin, about 4 inch. Oh, this is the medium? Okay, so this will go about 5. Okay. So we have the small or regular, we have the medium, we have the large, we have the Mongo. He wants to make sure that he keeps that reservoir of thicker glass in the bottom, and he'll keep increasing the diameter on this. He's going to chill the bottom a little bit. He's going to take a reheat and probably blow it out just a little bit more to get that final diameter. So by blowing just a little more, you can see him increase the diameter there. He'll refine the neckline by squeezing that with the jacks. Then he may use the back of the jacks or a paddle to begin flattening the bottom once he gets that shaped up. The back of the jacks is just like a little paddle. He's got the heat that he wants in it. He flattens it. In the meantime, Foster had the bunny made. He's already flashed it. And here we go with another transfer. Josh will take the iron that has the bunny on it and place it in the middle of the bottom. Then what he'll do is start turning the whole thing.
So you see the neck, look at the
Now,
neck.
see, the neck is still hot and it's moving all over, okay?
It's a little tricky.
That is a little bit tricky because now, then it was moving in a couple of planes. He breaks that off and there we go. So now Foster will give that a quick little heat, and then Josh will be using the Sofietta, which we sometimes call a puffer. It's this tool here, but primarily he's going to be using that metal cone to press the top inward a little bit, and he'll blow just very lightly to have a little bit of resistance against it. And what Foster's beginning to do right now is to take a couple of gathers on the end of a small iron, and he's going to be constructing the stem. So now Josh will come back. You can see that the top of the pumpkin is hot. He'll use the Sofietta to both push in, but blow very gently. That gives him some resistance against collapsing the whole thing. Now he's got the indentation in there that he wants, and from here on he'll be doing just a little bit of shaping, heating. Foster's getting the stem hot. That was a metal cone. We do have the wooden ones. The wooden one is a steam cone. But the thing about the steam cone is once you put that hot water into the glass, it begins expanding. There's no off switch except for removing it. So with the metal Sophietta, Josh is able to press it in. Now here we go with the stem. Watch this. He'll tag the middle and pull it out. He'll draw it out just a little bit and then cut it free. And immediately he'll go to reheat that to get that stem nice and soft so it will wrap around the bar that Foster brings over. Foster will put the bar in place and Josh will use his tweezers. Foster will stand by the marver and point it toward Josh, and he'll align that with the center of the piece so that Josh can wrap around it. He's got that pulled out to length, and now wrap it all around, and then he'll let Foster know when to withdraw the pipe, and now he just curls that around and makes his attachment. He'll take another heat here, and then he'll finish up with the stem. So, that's how we do the pumpkins. Whether they're the regular, the small, the medium, the large, or the Mongo, the process is about the same. Now, he's got enough heat in that, he can still make full contact with the stem there and adjust the line of it. So he's got all those beautiful pigtail curls going down there. And then it'll be time to just tap it off, a little gentle cooling, either with a butter knife and or a drop of water, his choice. The Foster will catch it. So we get the stem done. The butter knife will cool the punty joint, and with a little tap, it comes right off into Foster's gloved hands, and into the annealer we go. Nice work, guys. Beautiful pumpkin, Josh.
Thank you.
And Foster, awesome job there. Okay, so the annealer is set at about 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll stay there all day. The glass pieces might get put away at anywhere from 12 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit, but it doesn't matter if they drop rather quickly to 900. That's not the critical drop. When we anneal the glass at the end of the day, we simply turn off the annealer and it cools overnight. And it's between about that 900 and around 750 that we got to be really careful, because if it goes too fast through that zone, kerplow, kerplooey. Yep. Okay, what Christmas show is that from, huh? Okay. Kerplow, kerplooey. I don't believe that. Anyway. Oh, actually, Gary, one person can do this whole process. I make pumpkins alone all the time. So, yep, it can be done. But I don't go for the Mongo or the really huge ones. You can make mugs alone. You can make, a lot of people can make darn near anything alone. But it's always more fun to have someone working with you, and we enjoy that. Also, it gives you a little bit of a break occasionally from reheating the piece and that sort of thing. Congratulations to Jim Yearden, who won the flask from last week right there. Those of you that are commenting will be in the drawing to win this. Okay. So, anyway, here we go with a lot of our pieces. Again, we're anticipating the opening of the Renaissance Fair, and here we go. We got some of the flasks up here, different ones we've made, all kinds of designs, mugs, jellyfish, fish, rondelles, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Okay, we got all kinds of different mugs. Maybe between pieces here in a moment or two, we'll just take a run through the gallery and show you even more, because when you do get back to the Renaissance Fair, you're going to see a lot more glass on display than what we have right here. So we've done our flask and our pumpkin this morning, and we're going to come up with a dragon next. And Josh is getting set for that. So, yeah, maybe we'll take a quick spin down there. I'm going to take a quick spin through the gallery, Josh, just to show them what they might see at the fair. Be right back with you. Okay. And if I can figure out which one of the breakers is going to light the gallery. Whoop. Let's hope we got some light down there now. Looks like it. Yeah, all righty. I missed some. Foster, you want to give me some light down here? I'm going to show the folks what they might see. Just more stuff at the Ren Fair, okay? So like we've got the hanging hearts. We don't have any up on the display area right now, but I know you'll see those out at the fair. We've got our diamond optic molds, more fish, dragons, jellyfish, okay? And new designs for the diamond-shaped ornaments here. Shout out to Ramiro Camarilla for coming up with the design of that mold. Foster will be making his signature piece, the orb. Okay, so we got lots of those out there. We'll have a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces. We'll have large bowls, some vases, our standby. Oh, this is a beautiful one right here. Let's take a quick look at this. It's been a few weeks since we did a 4-color piece. So we've got 4 colors in there, and it's really pretty cool. It's really neat design there. And with the different colors in it, the glass is a little trickier to work with. We'll have pieces that have the Murini in them. We'll have some with canes. There's a cane bowl down there. So let's just take a real quick tour. We've got them kind of color grouped right now, a variety of shapes and sizes, Incalmo pieces, Reticello pieces, beautiful color mixes here. We've got a whole series of our blue collection, okay? So lots of glass, even lighting, okay? So we got it all. All right, so let's go on back. Oh, so here's more pieces. We've got flattened pictures. We've got bells. For some reason, the bells are really popular about the 3rd week of the fair, so we always try to get some in there. All right, so let's go on back and see if we're ready to get going with a dragon. So, yep, they are all beautiful pieces, Barbara. Okay.
All right, so we're going to be making a dragon, which I don't make very often because they're very hard to make. So let's give it a go.
Okay. So the dragon is a solid piece instead of blown. What Josh will do here is pick up the clear glass on his blowing iron, and then he'll collect frit on the outside of it. Ah, we're going to have a blue dragon.
Blue dragon.
Okay.
Why not?
Now at this point where you're gathering the glass, you don't want it really elongated a lot because that makes it harder to control and it's a less even distribution of the color. But what he'll do now is get ready to lengthen this and shape it. Okay. Into the optic mold he goes, and instead of blowing, he simply presses. And this will put the ridges into it. So this is a short, stubby dragon right now. But what he'll do is by pushing on the marver with the glass, he gets a little more off the end of the iron. And then his next step will be to come to the bench and kind of segment it. He'll make 2 lines in it. And the middle, where it's fattest, will be the belly of the dragon. So there he makes one. And now he'll start to pull another away. Still looks a little bit like the bird he made a few weeks ago until he starts to elongate it. And now you're starting to see what will happen with the dragon. He'll need a jack line to separate it from this iron. So that's what he started there. And now he's going to start lengthening that and begin to straighten it. Now, when the glass is hot and wobbly, it's hard to keep straight. By hanging it down and pulling on it gently, then he can invert the angle if he chooses, or he'll just get the sides set like that. There he goes with the inversion, and that pulls it a little bit more from where the shears are. And you can see where, yep, the belly of the beast, David Hogan, and you can see where that is right in the middle, okay? So now the trick is to get that little ball off the end and get this fairly straight, because they're going to be turning it rather rapidly in a moment. So by pulling gently while turning, it's a self-centering method. And then what he'll do is break that little nub off, or he'll just do that later. Okay, so Josh wants this to spin on our threading device nice and straight. Todd's picking up some clear glass, going to deliver it to Josh. He'll put it onto the piece and begin spinning. And this will put a trail of clear glass. And this is what gives our dragons their scales, okay? So the appearance then of this clear glass on the blue will look like the scales of the dragon when we're done. You notice he paused the rotation a couple times so that he could straighten it back out. Were he to allow that eccentric to stay, the piece would just wobble all over. So now he's got a nice trail going all the way down that. He hurries over to get his, hot glass moves and cold glass don't. That's right, David. Okay, so now what he's doing is just making sure that that stays hot, and it's going to be time to start adding the pieces to the dragon. So Todd will be gathering. Do you see what happens when it's hot? It hangs, but that's not an issue. Now he puts the curl in the dragon. By letting it rest on the rail of the bench, the belly is bulged forward, he swings the head around, and he's got a nice graceful curve down the shape of the dragon's body. So that's why he got it so hot, and it looked like it was moving like crazy all over the place. It was. Now you'll notice it's not quite as hot. He got the shape he wanted, he got the curls and the bend. He'll use his tweezers occasionally to put the curl back in if it begins to straighten out some, but he'll just be keeping his eye on it. Todd's heated up the bit for the head. We'll have the head facing up, and they'll place the face onto it and let it drape over, and he'll pull it away and snip it into kind of a triangular shape there. Now, as he pulls back, that's the area that will be the mouth. He's stretching that apart, putting the groove in for the mouth, and then pinching the lip down and pulling it just a bit. 2 spots for the eyes. And back to the reheat. Yeah, we're going to name this one Puff, David. And it is like magic. Okay, so he's got plenty of heat in that. He's making sure. See how he's waving it back and forth? That's to control the motion. He wants some motion. He needs that, but he needed to get that lip area a little bit hotter. And now he's going to bring it down and make contact. By contacting that lower lip to the body, he decreases the chance of breakage and a fracture. Okay, so now he's got a couple of little eyes over there on the marver. And he's going to place that into the indentation he made. And notice he doesn't turn the pipe. He carries it right straight back over and heats it up. We will wait until he's done with the eyes before we go over and show them to you, because if one should drop on the floor or anything, he's going to want the spares. So I always put out 3 or 4 eyes in case things don't go the way we want. Notice that the dragon got a little curl. That's okay. He's going back into the heat and melting the eye. So there are the little eyes. And they're a dark glass with a little yellowish green surrounding it. And that gives him the eyes of the dragon. So now it's still time to straighten, watch the curvature. And I think you can probably see the eyes. It looks to me like I've got them on camera pretty good. So now he's got the eyes in there. We got the head, the mouth formed, and the eyes. Todd's preparing the next bit. Here it comes. These will be the feet. So he places two of them, snips them off, and then he slices them through the middle for claws. Not the Santa variety, David. Okay. Now that he's started to get that placed, he'll bring that back when it's still hot, stretch them out a little bit, and curl them over for contact on the body. He pulls the foot up and over, the leg up and over, and now he's got the two of those placed with solid contact on the body, and he can adjust the curvature a little bit. Yes, Bridget, feet, wings, the backbone, the scales down the back, everything's going to be blue. Everything but the hook it hangs from. Okay, so they're talking back and forth. You can probably hear that. Josh needs to know how long Todd needs to get his blue heated up. And Josh needs to make sure that he's got enough heat in the piece. So here we go now. And along the spine. So we're going to let this drape in and pinch up. Notice how he pushes it down and then he squeezes it together to give you the scales up the back of the dragon. When he gets that done, you can just simply pull it out and snip it off right there and into the heat right away, so that nothing gets too cold. Okay. So we've got the feet, and we've got the spine, we got the eyes, we got the head. It's time for some wings. Anybody want to play some Paul McCartney? Oh, man.
And so it starts. See, how long was it until he made the dad joke?
Oh, I started early. Oh, no, I started early. I'm making up for last week. All right, so Todd's got the fresh gather of glass. He's going to be picking up the blue, getting that heated and melted in. And this is Josh's opportunity to maintain the line of the dragon, any curvature he wants. Red Bull? No, I didn't have any Red Bull today. I don't do Red Bull. I just go straight caffeine. But we could make a Red Bull one day. We should make a Red Bull. Okay. Okay, we're talking back and forth about what's next, how much time Todd needs, when Josh will be ready. And the ultimate choice is Josh's. As the gaffer or the person that's in charge of making the piece, if he needs more time, he would always just ask Todd to wait or take another flash. Place the blob of glass onto the side for the wings. Josh will lift it and cut it. After he cuts that free, he's going to squeeze it with some flattened blades that have serrations in them. And this is going to give him, actually that one's flat. Now he's going to cut. No, they do have serrations. Okay. He'll be taking another heat in just a moment. And he and Todd will pull the wing in opposite directions. Todd will be grabbing the wing about the midpoint on the upper part of the wing. Josh will be grabbing it from down below with his tweezers. Josh is giving him a spot to grab right now. And here they go to pull and stretch the wing gently. Give it a nice little curvature, a little spiky feel there. And now if he wants, he can curl it a little bit simply by pushing it with the back edge of the tweezers.
You always got to get that point right there.
What's that?
Always got to get the little claw there.
Got to get that point. Okay. You got to answer to the Dragons Union if you don't.
What's that?
You got to answer to the Dragons Union if you don't.
That's right.
Yeah, it's required. It's what they insist on for infringing on their copyright. Okay, so another fairly good-sized gather of glass.
We don't want to make the dragon angry.
And so at this point, with getting this heat back in, the thing changes shape a little bit in some parts. Now you'll notice, or probably have already figured out, that part of the glass is a lot colder than the rest, so he keeps his eye on that. And the coldest part right now is that's down by the iron. That's not getting as much heat, but he's putting just enough to get it to stay above 1,000 degrees. Most of the heat is concentrated where he's working. So they're talking again. You can hear them in spite of me. Todd will be over with the blue glass here in just a moment. Notice how we leave it there, then we flip it up. Got his alignment, and then cuts that off. He'll pinch that with the flattened blades, and he'll slice the edge, and then after a reheat, he and Todd will pull it together again. So that tip right up there is that spike that Josh was talking about being in the middle of the wing. All right, so the little target area for Todd, and now they both grab and pull along the line of the body. Josh is watching to see that the length is the same as the other side.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, there we go, and then he can curl that around and shape it. So you can see from the glow that that one's a lot hotter than the other wing. He's got to go equalize his temperatures right now. So it'll be a couple of short flashes. Yeah, the wind beneath your wings. That's it, David. It's the heat beneath your wings. So the one that was just applied is the brighter of the two. And that one, he can still adjust a little bit more. He can get the spacing and the curvature of it just like he wants. Notice how easily it bends right now, because we all know hot glass moves and cold glass don't. All right, Todd's forming up a punty right now, which will go on to the head of the dragon, and this is, coincidentally, where the hook will go later. Now it's time to transfer to the punty iron. A nice solid contact, pull it out just a little bit, and then probably one small drop of water down near the iron, and it'll break free. We don't care if there's a little extra comes with it right now, because Josh is going to be pulling this longer, okay? So normally on our blown vessels, we tell you that we make the lower half to 2/3 first, then turn it around and finish it. In this case, we've made most of the top of this dragon first, and we'll finish it up on the bottom. Now, there's an area that doesn't have the trail on it, doesn't have the scales. So what Josh will do is begin to pull that in a moment and start to knock it off. And if it doesn't quite go, he'll go get a little more heat. So he's trying to get that, oh my goodness, we're down to 25% on this phone. we're down to 25% on this phone.
Okay.
Okay. Grab another phone, Bruce.
I guess whatever, 25%.
We'll, it was fully charged when we started. Oh well. Hey, well, let me tell you right now, folks, we're getting really expert at this. If you should lose us, don't go anywhere. We can have another phone hooked up inside of a minute and a half, okay? So now, okay. I'm gonna pull that off a little bit.
It's a granola dragon instead of a sail dragon.
Okay, so now it's time for the tail. We're going to shake a tail feather. Todd's going to pick up a little bit of blue glass on that small gather. We'll bring it over after it's heated and place it onto the bottom down there. Josh will separate it and shape up the tail. Notice how he cuts one direction then the other to give it that profile. Now he'll split it right down the middle and then squeeze each half and begin to work that out. He's getting that shaped up. Looks kind of like a mermaid. Alrighty. We're going with a beautiful dragon, okay? And we'll be taking that off in just a moment. So, what do you think, Barbara? You're speechless.
I'm sitting here with my mouth hanging over, watching the
We
whole
have a
process.
lot of people watching this that wish I was speechless, but hey, no, it's an amazing process, isn't it? Yeah, and it really is an eye opener when you see the whole thing going together.
Yeah, and as I said, I'm sitting here with my mouth hanging over. It's pretty impressive.
So
Plug it into the bottom of the phone and keep it charged. But I gotta let it. We can do this in a second.
we'll do it in a minute. Okay,
You like
I got
all
it. I got it. Okay, we're getting the battery back here in just a second. So anyway, it's on this iron, and we're going to need to have a hook on it. So what we're going to do here in a moment is put it onto this heated fork that Todd has, and by breaking it off, Josh will run over real quick and grab a little bit of glass, and they'll put a hook on it so you can hang it. So part of the reason for putting Barbara on the spot was that we're starting to open up again. Okay. We got a tailless dragon. Okay, well he's got a spindle down there. Okay, Josh will put the hook on it. And then on the fork, Todd will put it into the annealer. And we just stand it up in the back corner over there, and it just sits right there. So anyway, back to why we were putting Barbara on the spot was because we're starting to open things back up. So we're really happy she's here with us today. And so anyway, she's been vaccinated, and people that want to come by, and we're starting to talk about opening classes back up or make your own ornament or thing. We're going to try to put a cable in the bottom of the phone now. So I'll stabilize the phone, maybe, while Foster gets the plug.
It's not fitting.
Okay, hold on. All right. Stick with us, folks. Didn't mean to do. Yeah, let's try that. Let's go sideways. See if you can reach it there.
I'll do a quick timer.
It doesn't fit.
No.
Okay.
It's a different size.
All righty. Well, you know what?
I think it'll be all right, Bruce. I think 25%.
You think we'll make it?
I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
Okay. Your
Quarter
glass
full.
is half full. Yeah.
Glass is quarter.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're trying to solve that issue. We got our sound and our picture going well, and we're losing power. But these videos do take a lot of juice out of the phone. All right, so there was the dragon. We're going to go with a planter and then a fish and then a mug. We're going to do them all. So if we lose battery power and die off on you, don't go anywhere. Within about a minute and a half, we'll have another phone plugged
I'm
in.
going to grab a quick piece of color,
Okay.
and we'll come on to there you go.
That's the crapper plug.
Let me hold it up here.
Okay.
You see it?
We have light separation here. Can you hold that?
Hey, now we got a battery pack installed. Okay, thank you, Todd.
That's excellent.
So someday maybe we'll show you the, I think it's called a gimbal that we have the phone mounted on. So it's like a gyroscope. So you move just a little bit and this thing swivels around like crazy. So trying to put the battery pack plug into the bottom of the phone is a real adventure. Unlike making glass alone, you can't do that while you're holding on to this thing. All right, so now we got the battery charging up, and we're not going to worry about just having the 25%. Okay. Planter?
Yes, we're going to do a planner. Barbara had a great idea. We're going to do a Celadon one, and we're going to do it in a signature series, which is where we take red and kind of trail it around. I can see the camera moving all over. So you want me to move with the camera?
Yeah, well, you know what it is? We plugged this battery pack in here, and with the battery pack attached so we can stay online, the gimbal doesn't work. The way to, you know what? We'll just go with this. I'll do the best I can holding it still. This is hilarious.
25, that's 25%
Yeah, you're gonna get some weird views here, folks, because the gimbal's gonna try moving it. Yeah, it's like being at sea. Let's all get our sea legs. Hey, anybody that feels the urge, you got to get to the rail in time. Yeah, don't mess up the deck.
I don't know, Bruce. That's a tricky one. I'd say yank it.
Well, thank you, Angela. We appreciate that. And it is kind of neat to watch things being made. Maybe we'll go with this battery pack for a little while and then lose it. But at any rate, Jim Yearden won the flask from last week. So that dark one right there, that dark greenish color that's crackled. And this is our prize for next week. So with your comments, you'll be entered in the drawing. And here are samples of some of the work we do. Wow. Honest, all I've had to drink today is coffee. Really, all I've had is coffee.
I can see it when I saw you over there. It was going all over the place. All right.
The gyroscope doesn't know what to do. That's pretty funny, though. Hey. All right, so
we have a nice chunk of Celadon.
we got Celadon, and what color's Foster going to be using on the trail?
He's picking up a reddish color.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a reddish terracotta color.
Okay, so these two colors will mix together, and oh no, Bridget, I didn't drink my coffee out of Todd's mug. I had my own. I know better than to go to the Todd supply.
No, that one is probably made it more even.
Okay. Yes, David, Irish coffee. All right, so Foster's over here heating up the other bit of color. Josh has the Celadon, and he'll be rolling that on the Marver and making kind of a conical shape with that. And then they'll take the glass that Foster has and trail it around and twist it through, and you'll get this really beautiful mix of colors. And we'll find if we can, we'll find you a signature series piece to look at after we get this done. So there's a little bit of the brownish red combination there that Foster had, a kind of a terracotta. Josh isn't worried about putting an air bubble in this yet. He's just trying to get a shape that they can add Foster's color to. So Foster will bring it over. It'll be really hot. They'll put it on. Josh will cut it off of Foster's pipe, and then what he'll eventually do is use the hooking tool to drag the red down through the Celadon.
About 5 or 6 seconds.
So they're going to put that on, twirl it around, get it laid all across the piece, and that's all they need to use. Now Josh will reheat that, get it all melted in, and then the two colors will be equally hot, and he'll be able to manipulate it, drag it, twist it, whatever he'd like to do with the design. This is a color combination that Foster's been working with for years. He calls it his signature series, and they really are beautiful. He can use the Celadon as a background. One of my favorites is with the white. And yes, the glass blower can just leave the pipe on its own. Okay, and there's the tail of the dragon that knocked off just a little bit earlier. Well, I've heard of a knight's tail, but I guess now we have a dragon's tail.
We're lucky.
Yeah, yeah.
Not so lucky for the dragon.
Yeah, Bridget, well, they're probably about equal. Bridget's asking about is one of those colors stiffer? Even if the red were stiffer, it's in such a smaller quantity that it's not going to have a detrimental effect to work in the piece.
Yeah, evenly swirl it. So theoretically, even if I mix it up, the red should be relatively even throughout. If I would put just red on one side, yes, it would blow out very uneven. But since it's kind of evenly swirled, it should be okay.
Now he's using the tool to just hook it around and mix it all up. We'll hope that the camera stays steady while we watch this. See how he's just taking it and swirling around with a little hook on the end of that metal rod. Okay? So this will get him a full mixture throughout. And once he gets that done to the point that he wants, he'll just marver that out, get a good shape on it. And he's got the mix he wants, so here we go with the marvering. Remember to comment. If you comment, that gets you entered in the drawing for next week's prize, which is a beautiful flask. And we'd love it if you'd share, because you probably have more friends than we do. And that gets us more viewers. And actually, we do have a lot of friends. We got a lot of folks that view the videos and visit the site. So he's doing a little bit more of the mixing of the color. This is crazy. I'm trying to view you, and the thing keeps turning away from me. So anyway.
Do you want me to take these off?
We might in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and see if that helps with the charge. Okay. And then maybe for the last two pieces, we'll do it without. Yeah, because when we hook this all up before the broadcast, we make sure that the weight is balanced with the phone in the holder. Correct. And now we've just deep sixed the weight balance. All right, Josh has got that marvered out. Now a quick blow into the pipe, cover the mouthpiece, and we'll see that expand just a little bit. He's not going to put a ton of air in that. He's going to save the bulk of the expansion for later. Now he'll gather clear glass over that. Then he'll block that and expand it some and then go back for another gather. So if you're wondering about our guest here, this is Barbara Belzer. Hello, Barbara. Barbara swung by today and came in to view things live, and we wanted to use this opportunity to let folks know if you're interested in coming into the studio, particularly if you'd like to perhaps take a class or make a piece. We're taking the baby steps toward getting back to being fully open. But it's going to take a little while, but we are in the process. So be sure and call the studio or email, and we'll see what we can work out. Now, Josh has inflated that glass a little bit more. It looks pretty much a uniform color now, but as it cools, you'll start to see some of the stripes of the red throughout. But it's going to have to cool a good bit for the incandescence on this camera to quit picking it up. Okay, so he'll take his second gather, and this will be the last gather he takes. It'll give him the volume he wants for this piece, and then they'll begin working on this. So the planter is in very many ways kind of like the flask. We just don't flatten it. We're going to, and of course it doesn't have the neck and use the cork for the opening. Gee, then why did I say it's almost like it? Well, the working process is very similar. So he's going to lock this, stabilize it, blow. So we're going into the optic mold. He's changing the shape of it so that it'll go down into that mold. If you watched the dragon getting started earlier, he was a little concerned because he thought he had a large amount of glass when he went into the optic mold. We try to get just the right amount of glass to fit down in there, and also we have to taper it to shape. Now he's going to blow into this, expand the bubble just a tiny bit.
See, I'm moving it up and down just to mess with Bruce.
Okay, thank you. That's my role here. Okay, so we're going to use the ball bearing mold?
Yeah, so I was actually holding it up trying to get the bubble to shoot all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
So by holding it up, it's going to swat up, and then the bubble shoots to the bottom.
So now with the bubble evenly distributed throughout the glass, when he goes into the mold, it'll expand throughout. And he's going into this one, which is another that Ramiro made for us. And it's a series of ball bearings that have been welded together. And this is going to give it kind of a honeycomb effect. So instead of being like the diamond optic mold and having bubbles or just diamonds in it, this will have hexagons. It's going to blow into that, draw it out. Now he's got to keep it moving because it's hot, but as it slows a little bit, we'll be able to see a little more of the texture that's been created. He's pulling that out because this will have an open lip on it, and now you can see the hexagons in there. So now we're back into pretty much the vessel making process, which is we formed the lower half to 2/3 of it first, then putty it up. Now since this will be hung from leather straps, it doesn't need to have a flattened bottom. It's not intended to sit on a tabletop. Now you can really see the Signature Series swirls in there. That's because the glass is cooling down some and it's more pronounced. Okay. Foster's bringing the punty. Josh will place that in the center of the bottom, and then he'll begin to turn the pipes to make sure that everything's in alignment. He can use the tweezers to press down on the pipe that Foster's holding if it's off center a little bit. A little water and a tap, and it comes free. All righty. So now, back over here. So we've got the bottom 3/4 of this done. It's time to work on the top half. Josh will concentrate the heat there mainly. He will be heating the bottom of it so it doesn't get cold and crack. We got to keep the glass well above 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit so that it doesn't shatter. When he comes back to the bench, you'll see most of the glass that's hot will be up near the lip, up near the top. There'll be an orange glow in probably, the top 2 to 3 inches. And the rest of it, you'll probably be able to see the colors quite well. If you've got any questions, ask away. We'll try to answer them. If we don't know the answers, we'll either make something up or ignore it. All right, here he comes. And just like we said, there's the heat or the orange glow up in the top. He's going to begin to open this up some. And this is going to get considerably wider than the flask did. Not only that, he'll begin to flare. See how he's raising his hand and changing the angle of the jacks? That's what flares the lip out. Yeah, Bridget, we're not real precise on that 3/4 or half or whatever. All right, Josh will give the final shaping to the lip, the flare, and the throat. And now they'll begin to put 3 hooks onto it. Foster will deliver a bit of glass. Josh will take it from him, attach it to the piece, draw it up, snip it off, and rotate the pipe so that the glass doesn't fall into the body. Then he'll create the hook. It would be conceivable to put the tail back on the dragon with some lamp working, but it would be very difficult with this glass and really not worth the effort. We would just make it over. All right, so now Josh has the challenge of looking at this as it rotates and figure out what is 120 degrees around from that.
And glassblowers aren't very good at that.
Yeah, so
We know how to do like 90
we can do quarters and halves and 8 and all kinds of even multiples, but you see he hit that really well. So we try to get that 1/3 of the way around from the other one, and then the last one will be placed. So these planters hang from 3 cords, not to be confused with the 3-chord rock music of the 60s and 70s. These are leather straps that hold the piece.
Hey, that's a good band name, the Leather Straps.
The leather straps, oh boy. I can see where that's going with this crowd. I'm glad Barbara is sitting here beside me instead of commenting. We'll get hit up with David and Bridget just enough. Okay, so here comes the 3rd piece of glass for the hook. You'll clip that off, and again, turn it so that it lengthens a little and also doesn't fall into the piece, and then curl it around, and there we have our 3 hooks. So you'll take a quick flash heat. And the other thing we do with these, where the putty's attached on the bottom, we break the piece off on that fiber pad over there, and then we put a hook on the bottom, which typically has some kind of decorative bead or perhaps a ribbon or any number of things like that attached. So Josh is going to use a little bit of water and drop that off on the fiber pad. Don't look at the bottom. That's all right. He's going to put some glass in there anyway. So it had just a little bit of the body came up with it. Sometimes that happens. But going right back on it will be fine. Here he goes with a little Marva. Drop the glass right into that
So if you ever
spot.
see a planter with a really big touch-out,
Okay.
that's why.
Is this going to be like an Avolio or a knob? Okay. and they'll pull that out just a little bit and curl it over. And then, as I said, it'll get either a maybe ribbon or a piece of string with a bead on it, whatever we feel like putting on the bottom of it. Or you can take it home and put your own thing on it. Okay, so there we go, and it's ready for the annealer. Another beautiful job, guys. All right, wonderful. Okay.
So what happened was the putty just took out a little hole in it, but like Bruce said, we just put the clear glass on it, it seals it right up, and perfectly fine.
There we go. Okay, so we'll go back and I think we only got a couple more pieces left.
Yeah, once you
I'm going to say, why don't we? I'm going to hold this and make everybody seasick. How about giving me a hand with getting that? Okay. Whoa. Okay, there is the ceiling in the Art of Fire.
I guess.
Imagine that. Okay, hey, we got the dead weight off of it, and now that I'm out of the way, the other dead weight's been moved. So that was the planter, and there's a planter right there. This particular one was the signature series you just saw made. But that's how we make the planters, and here's one with a pretty little bead right on the bottom. So a lot of variety there. And we're going to be doing a fish and a mug here in just a moment. So all of these are things that you'll see on display at the Ren Fair, and as we titled the video today, Anticipation. Okay, so all you Carly Simon fans, get with it. All right, so you're going to see this and a lot more if you get there and visit the Renaissance Fair this year. All right, so Todd's heating up a plate of Murini, which if you've watched some of the previous videos, they're very small pieces of glass cut into about a quarter to a half-inch length, and they're a variety of colors, some really beautiful cane pieces that get chopped up, and he has to heat them up. What about a fish mug, Robin Hollinger? What about a fish mug? We're just going to do the straight-up fish here. So he's taking his time putting this into the glory hole. Thermal shock is a real issue for glass blowers. And thermal shock is a condition where glass is exposed to a really rapid change of temperature. Typically, we find it with the heating. If we take room temperature glass, particularly if it's a little bit thick, and these Murini are probably a half-inch thick, if we suddenly shove them into a 2300 degree glory hole with no preheating, they're likely to shatter and crack. So you can see that the ones that are closest to us here are glowing a little bit more, they're a little bit hotter, okay? So we have to be very careful with how we do that with the Murini. Todd's going to roll across with his gather of glass and start picking up the Murini. If he has any blank spots, he'll be able to just kind of tap it and put them in. He can use his tweezers, so this is all still very hot and will adhere. So he can just put them in place where he wants. Okay. And he didn't have to pick all of them up. He's got enough on there that he can form the piece quite well. Well, that's great, Diane. Glad to hear that you enjoy the glass so much. And we are glad to hear from all of you. If you've collected pieces from the studio over the years, let us know about it. Now Todd will make sure that the Murini are all lined up and in place on the gather of glass. If any of them are standing on their edge, perhaps protruding a little too far, he can move them around with his tweezers a little bit. By doing that, you'll get a nice even coverage with the Murini.
Hello.
It's all run. Backwards.
Oh, smells like chicken.
Oh.
So he'll heat that up, and he'll probably either marver it or possibly block or otherwise make sure that the Murini adhere completely to that gather of glass. He wants them pretty much embedded in the piece so that when he goes for subsequent gathers and moving around, that he's got exactly what he wants. That's right, Ted, a marine Murini. Okay, so now when it comes over to the marver, it's going to smooth out all those lumps and bumps where the Murini's lying on the gather of clear glass. Now he'll initiate the bubble by trapping air in the blowpipe. It has no place to go but out into that hot glass. Wow, David, that's pretty impressive. 9 or 10 pieces. So far. I like the so far part. Okay, so Todd's going to get this heated, shaped up in the pattern that he wants, and then he'll take another gather, blow this out to the body size that he's looking for this particular fish. Here he comes back to the marver, and you can see from that bright orange glow where the heat is. Notice how he had the iron angled on the tabletop. When he had his hands pointing down, it pushed the glass off. When he points his hands downward, points the tip of the glass onto the table, it gives it a bit of a conical shape. And whenever he goes to level, it gets it more cylindrical. He's just trying to control the shape. The shape that we have and the proportion. So there he is pretty much level, and you can see it's forming more of a cylindrical shape, rounded, kind of like a bullet nose, and there he comes up a little higher on the angle. So you can see how all those things work into shaping the glass. We kind of watch the length and the diameter of the piece. That ratio is very important. If the piece gets too long, it's very difficult to gather over, and when we do blow it out, it might not blow out evenly. Todd's letting it all cool right now, and he's got that cold enough, he's got his block in position, so he'll take his gather of clear glass over top of the Murini. He can strip glass back into the furnace, that's why he's holding the pipe up high like that. On the other end, it was draining off into the furnace. He can use his shears to peel some glass off if he's got a little more than he wants. As we said earlier, think of it as being a subtractive craft. You can always take a little off. It's really hard to just put that little dab of glass back where you didn't have quite enough. So we can take care of things by removing a little bit of glass. He'll equalize the temperatures throughout. The clear coating was much hotter than the core, which had the Murini in it. He needs to equalize these temperatures, and then he'll cool them evenly, get a nice heat throughout. Notice the hands down and the glass up. That pushes it off the marver. Now the hands up and the glass pointed down. It tapers the end of it. It's kind of got a diamond shape to it. And when he blows and traps the air, he gets a perfect little ball out there. So quite often it's the unnoticed or the small unseen things that have such a great effect on the glass blowing. I mean, it's really cool to watch the glass blower spinning the pipe around and doing all kinds of funky things, but to notice the fact that the angle that the pipe is held or the speed with which the rotation goes. All those things have a great effect on the piece. He's got his jack line in it, and he'll blow it out a little bit more. And then just like we did with a flask earlier, when he gets the sphere to the size he wants, he'll flatten it, and it'll look more like a fish's body. So as we mentioned earlier, Barbara's here with us today in the studio watching, and she just commented and said, I have to say, I have a lot of admiration for you working in front of these furnaces all summer. And we appreciate that because she's over here and she's about 12 to 14 feet from the furnace. She's much closer to the pipe warmer, which is generating heat. And fortunately, we've turned off Josh's glory hole or it'd be generating even more heat towards her. So Todd has swung this out a little bit, got a little bit of taper in the body. Now he'll bring it over to Foster, and he's going to cap the end of the pipe with his finger. That keeps the air from being squashed out completely, and at the same time, Foster flattens the glass. So if they need any more, they'll come back and do it again. Looks like they got just what they need, and Todd will probably elongate the body just a little bit by grabbing the end of it with his tweezers or shears and pull it out just a little bit. By hanging it down, it elongates a little more, and you'll notice that the heat is down at the end of the fish, the lower end of it. And by grabbing that and pulling, you can stretch it gently for a really nice taper. Okay, so that's how we form up the body of the fish. He's got his tweezers in hand, so I would rather suspect that the eyeball's next. So he's got the eyes laid out on the marver, and just like you saw earlier with the dragon, he'll pick up an eyeball, put it onto the body of the fish, and then transport it to the glory hole. And the heat will cause that to adhere. We don't worry about turning the pipe at this point. We just want that eye to melt in. And when he does the other side, it will go the other way. So if there's any bending to it, that'll straighten out. He can also take care of that right now by just hanging it straight down. He's going to use the back of the tweezers to kind of press against the eye to make sure it's well seated. A little touch for the alignment. Alrighty, so now another eye. Well, you'll notice we always keep a couple of spares around in case one decides to jump. Now that'll just rest in place as he carries it over. And again, heating it up so it'll stick there. After he gets it warmed up a bit, he'll take it back to the bench, perhaps press again with the hinge of the tweezers to make sure that it's seated, and then any further adjustment to the alignment of the body. Okay. There he goes. He's pressing that in. And as Glenn Fry would say, the heat is on. All right. Okay. So Foster's checking out how much glass Todd wants on this. They're going to begin adding the bits to the fish. And we've got this frit over here. What do we got, like a garnet red?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay, very pretty. So there'll be red fins and red sails in the sunset. Come on, somebody's got to know that one. Okay, so we've got the body formed up. Now it's time to add all the bits. Foster will deliver the hot glass to Todd. Todd will place this one like he wants, so he'll be putting probably a dorsal fin on it and a couple of fins down on the bottom for it to sit on. Okay, so here we go. Straight down, drags it back a little bit. A slight lift and a snip right there. And now,
Scrap it. Let's get another bit, please. Smaller.
got that dorsal fin all set up. Okay. So we got the eyes on it, and we've got the dorsal fin on it. We'll be putting a couple of fins on the bottom. This will allow it to sit on a table. We'll also probably have a hook on it, so you have your option of whether to hang it in a window or display it on a shelf. And Todd will call Foster over when he's ready. Tommy dorsal, that's a pretty good one, David. Okay. Two bits on the bottom, flipped off, and then pressing them, flattening them while they're fresh and hot, and then he can do any further adjustment to them for shaping as he needs. But very important while the glass is fresh and hot to get those initial moves made. We have a friend up in Massachusetts. Let's see, we're going to cut those there. From whom we have borrowed the phrase, original heat can't be beat.
McDermott.
Yep, David McDermott of McDermott Glass out on the Cape. All right, so Foster's gathering up some more glass here. Got it shaped, got the color on it. Now it's time to reheat. So you'll notice that Foster is going over to the furnace to do the reheating. So Josh already made like Elvis and left the building. So his glory hole is off. There's not a place to reheat. So what Foster's able to do is to put his iron into the furnace and get the glass hot, and now he'll deliver the tailpiece to Todd. Yes, we did make a cardinal, Sharon. Josh made a really beautiful cardinal, I believe about a month ago. Todd's going to squeeze this right when it's so very fresh and hot. Gets the shape he wants, and then he'll begin to shear it. While the glass is hot like that, it's very easy to go ahead and cut and shape. He'll be separating the tail into two halves, and then getting that all done. And then when they get done with that, it'll be time to put the mouth on it, which involves taking it off the blowpipe, which gets pretty interesting. So they're discussing that right now, just making sure that they're both on the same page. So now they'll separate the two halves of the tail in a moment. A little bit of clipping there. Actually, it's got that beautiful fantail there. Okay. See how he did that with the shears? Put those grooves into it. And this is no longer a rudderless fish. Okay. Here's the placement for the hook, right up on top of that fin. You'll clip that off and then curl it around. That would allow it to be displayed hanging in a window or from wherever you wish. Robin Hollinger says it's a very sophisticated piece.
That girl.
Okay, so he's going to get this hot enough. He's got the glove on, and he's also got sitting here on the bench a special tool for grabbing the fish. He's going to
Robin's
hold
brother
it.
Donald married Marlon Thomas on that girl.
Okay. Yes, it is going swimmingly. All right. So anyway, those insulated pads, that covering on there, will allow him to break the fish free, hold it in those tongs, accept the glass from Foster, which will be the mouth of the fish. He's going to break it off, grab his shears, put the bit onto the mouth opening, cut it free, and then shape it. He'll be bringing it back alongside the body a little bit and putting a groove into it where the mouth got the lips on it separated, and into the annealer it will go. There we go. All right. Beautiful piece. Let's hear it for Todd. Way to go, guys. Awesome piece. Okay. And you'll notice he switched gloves there right at the end to put it away. That's because with the small glove that he has